Okay, welcome to the Sam Powell Podcast, episode 1. On today's podcast, I am going to talk about how to win and just set up an epic 2025. So there's several steps I like to take in December every year to effectively plan out or set myself up to have an epic 2025. And I've taken a couple of these ideas from some other people and implemented them over the past couple years, but there's also some other tools and what do I say, philosophies or perspectives that I've started to incorporate and implement, and all of these together, I feel set me up for consistently epic years. So the first, the different parts that I want to talk about is finding your ikigai. So this is a Japanese term which essentially refers to your purpose, and this is made up of almost like a Venn diagram of your passions, your work, your interests, and by collating these together, you then find your ikigai or your purpose. And the reason why you might be interested in doing this is because it sets you up for bearing sort of any of the suffering that the year might bring ahead, because your vision is so clear for the future. The next thing is defining a misogi. So this is another Japanese phrase, and this refers to one life-altering event or challenge that you set yourself in this year. And the purpose behind this misogi is that it must be so grand that it really only has about a 50-50 chance of being complete. And it must be so significant that it impacts every single day of your life leading into it in that year. And I'll go into detail on that later. The other thing I like to refer to is building out the life resume. And so this refers to incorporating things in your year the same way that you might treat building up your career and your professional work resume. So where you might look at building skills or certain achievements with your career, whether it's with projects or clients, you want to treat your life the same. You want to be able to finish your year with certain skills or activities on your life resume, things that make you an interesting person, make your year look exciting, and do things you wouldn't normally have done. So then the next thing is self-authoring or journaling, and it's a very specific type of journaling, and it's not something that you do every day or consider. That this type of journaling is very specific to, or it's something you spend, maybe it's a day or you spend a week doing. Generally in the past, it's taken me anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks to complete this full self-authoring suite. But I think it's extremely valuable, and it can really lead into, I think, helping define your ikigai or creating some very rigid scope and structure to your year. The other thing I would consider doing as well is a personality test. And why I think a personality test is valuable is because I think we become so indoctrinated into what we're supposed to do. We get told we're supposed to be a certain way. We have so much cultural influx and societal influx and people around us that essentially tell us how we should be or what we should be doing. And it could be completely inconducive to who we are as a person. I know I've certainly set myself up for failure by putting myself in jobs or doing activities or committing to social responsibilities that just don't actually suit who I am. And so I'll get more into the personality test and the right one to do, and how that orients your life in a sec. And the other final thing I want to talk about is the law of attraction. So this is something I believe I did subconsciously for a period, or it was something I did kind of like loosely or haphazardly, or almost by accident, and was still able to reap the benefits of it. But but the law of attraction, or this practice of like manifestation, is something that I've started to incorporate quite heavily over the past couple of months, and doing it more consciously, more explicitly in my life, I've only noticed even grander benefits compared to when I was doing it sort of by accident in a way. And then there's some other things I want to discuss in terms of how I plan my week that I get really excited for, and then how I plan my day. And the type of planning I do, I think is only going to be interesting for a select few, or even ideal for a select few, because it is intensive and it is extremely structured, but it suits my personality type. And I find that when I structure my week like this and I complete that week, like, it just gets me so excited. I get so stoked about like what I've been able to do, and it just only sets me up for future success week. And I can then almost have faith that my year is going to be incredible as well. So the first thing I'd recommend starting with is a personality test, as before you begin doing some of these other things to set up your year. Why I think a personality test is so critical is because it helps you orient yourself and give you an understanding of yourself, so that then you can actually start planning for a year that is conducive to you. Because I think most people don't understand who they are. I mean, it's one of our life goals, trying to understand who we are. It is difficult. So the personality test that I recommend is the Big Five trait personality test. And so the Big Five trait, or the Big Five personality model, is based off of 5 traits that make up the personality, and that is agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, openness, and neuroticism. And that's then broken into 2 subcategories under each one of those traits. And so under agreeableness, this is where you find compassion, politeness. Then under conscientiousness, you find industriousness and orderliness. Under extroversion, you have enthusiasm and assertiveness. And then under neuroticism, you have withdrawal and volatility. And then the final one, openness, under that you have intellect and aesthetics. Why I believe the Big Five trait is the sort of gold standard compared to other personality traits, such as the Myers-Briggs, is the psychological literature that I'm aware of. Most of it suggests that the Big Five personality trait is the most reliable. My experience with the Big Five compared to some of the other personality tests that I've tried is it has felt more intuitive. I think it's felt more specific, and I don't feel as though it shoves me in a box like the Myers-Briggs test does. And I get the sort of feeling when I've done the Myers-Briggs is that no matter what or where I land, like, I generally feel like I'm actually across multiple, if not 2-3 different of those like personality like subsets, and it kind of doesn't feel very precise. The specific Big Five personality trait test that I do is through understandmyself.com. And so Jordan Peterson and his colleagues are the ones that built and designed this test. And so I believe there's a lot of scientific backing behind it. There's rigidity to it. It does cost like a little bit of money. I think it's like $14 to do, Australian. And this personality test is something that I've done roughly every 3 years or so. You aren't supposed to do this test like frequently because you skew the results then for that reason. But I think doing the test every, say, 3 or 5 years, it accounts for where your personality can change like a little bit. But then over that time frame, like I think you don't really remember what the questions are, and I think you can go into it more honest with Pega, but you can see like how you evolve as a person. And when I first did this test, there were parts of it that were really surprising to me, and one thing like in particular was how disagreeable I was. And so what's been consistent over like the 3 times that I've done this test now over the past going on probably 7 years now, I just again like recently, is how disagreeable I am. Where I've landed in at first, I think I was like in the 3rd percentile for agreeableness, and then just recently I was in the 0th percentile for agreeableness, meaning that if I was in a room of 100 people, I would be more disagreeable than 99 of the people in there. Why this was so shocking to me was because I worked in hospitality for a decade as a wine sommelier. So my job was a people job. It was a talking job. It was a sales, like negotiation job. And that doesn't really seem conducive to someone with exceptionally high disagreeableness. However, that's just one piece of the puzzle, and there are the other parts of the personality test, and considering it, and then that these other parts, being able to understand like where that like makes sense. But ultimately, when I did this like personality test, it made me think about like, oh, you know what, like I probably shouldn't be leading or trying to search for work where I don't have the opportunity to engage intellectually with people. I don't have the opportunity to argue with people. I don't have the opportunity to sort of like assert my own opinions, because that's naturally something I enjoyed doing. In university, I was a anthropology and philosophy like major in my second degree, and my favorite thing in the entire degree was being able to debate in philosophy. I absolutely loved it, and that trait disagreeableness comes out every day in my life, where I enjoy I enjoy arguing with people. I enjoy debating things, and so I probably should have been a lawyer, but I look for work now where I can exercise that natural disagreeableness. The other part, or one of the other scores on my personality test was exceptionally high extroversion, and so it made a lot of sense why I enjoyed, say, hospitality so much, why I enjoyed being a wine sommelier, because 95% of my job was talking to people, was engaging with people, telling stories, creating like fun experiences for people, and part of it was, being a bit of a life of the party as well. And I loved it. It gave me so much energy. There was never a time at which like it was draining for me to do my work, whereas now I no longer work in hospitality. I work in an office. There's nothing more tiring, I find, when I've just been working behind a computer all day. I yearn for the days when I get to do interviews with people, when I get to do focus groups, when I get to do meetings all day. I love that. That gives me so much more energy. And knowing that I'm an extrovert, I then structure my day, or I structure my work as much towards being able to work with other people and interact with other people, rather than just slaving away behind a computer, which it's just not conducive to me. I can do that work and I can enjoy it at times, but I know that if I'm setting up my day or my week to be consistently doing that, it will exhaust me, and it's not something I can do day in, day out. Another part of my personality test that stuck out was I was extremely high in trait openness. Again, this wasn't something that was shocking to me. I've always been interested in basically whatever it is and learning about it. It doesn't matter if it was reading a vacuum manual or learning about Heideggerian like philosophy, or I wanted to learn it. I wanted to read it. I wanted to engage with it. And so with that respect, I sought for opportunities or started to search for opportunities where I could be intellectually stimulated. So things changing like all the time. And so part of the fun of doing it with the wine industry when I worked in there is that it's impossible to learn all wine. And so it meant that I was constantly learning, constantly engaging. And then people have such different reactions like to wine and perspectives of wine that it was something that then I could like learn with as well. And so it was really engaging for me. And now that I don't work in wine anymore, I equally look for opportunities where I can be learning outside of my domain, whether it's in different industries or in different like methodologies. I'm consistently looking for ways that I can intellectually like stimulate myself. And I mean, part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, why I'm building like my personal brand and building that around some content categories of philosophy, of anthropology, and of communication, is that they're sort of endless wells of knowledge that continues to develop, and I can continue exercising my interest in being intellectually stimulated. The other traits, neuroticism and conscientiousness, were they didn't dictate my life too much in terms of how I plan things, but knowing that I'm low in neuroticism, I generally feel quite confident, say, searching for high stress jobs. I generally enjoy stress, or I handle stress like really well. And so I know that I can sort of apply for those types of roles, where for someone that is high in neuroticism, it wouldn't be suitable for them to be striving for a high stress job. In terms of conscientiousness, that I think has had a greater impact over how I set up or plan my life, or the expectations that I give myself, or it gives me a better understanding of like why I can say feel frustrated or frazzled like with myself. So conscientiousness, where that has manifested itself in my life, comes down to then that planning I do like in my week. I know that I'm going to get the most pleasure in my life when I'm setting a schedule or designing a schedule, and then I'm acting on that schedule as well. And I know that if I don't schedule my week, don't schedule my day, don't schedule like my month or my calendar, like that will have a negative impact on me. That will stress me out. That will make me feel unfulfilled. So the personality test is, I think, really low-hanging fruit to better understand yourself and then better orient yourself for a much clearer image of how you can define your ikigai, define your misogi, set up your next year so that it's actually conducive with like who you are. Or you might recognize in this how incongruent your current life is with who you are. And you should be looking towards like, how can I start to shift in 2025? How can I move out of some of these things in my life that aren't good for me, that are incongruent with like who I am, so that you can find a place that's more in line with who you are. You know, we are all so unique, and we all have, I think, our vocation in life, and it's up to you for taking the responsibility of understanding yourself well enough so that you can actually align with that. Once I've completed my personality test, I've reviewed it, and then and this personality test through understandmyself.com does give recommendations for the types of jobs you'd be suited for, the types of environments you should like place you in. It's it will give you some type of scope of like where you should be heading or how you should be like structuring. That's when I would consider doing the self-authoring. So this form of like journaling, I've done it through a program, and I've also just done it myself. And the online program that I do it through is the self-authoring suite. Again, this is Jordan Peterson's program that he built with his team, and I highly recommend it as just a very accessible way to go through these steps of self-authoring. And the one in particular of this like self-authoring suite that he offers is future authoring. And what's critical about future authoring, or the process of what future authoring is, it is creating a very, very clear vision of your ideal future, but then also creating a very clear vision of your worst future. And so you get maximally motivated because you have something pulling you forward and something pushing you as well. You're sort of maximally motivated because you have this ideal future, but you're also scared of what could go wrong if you were the worst version of yourself. And so the self-authoring like suite goes through a series of like questions asking like, what is one thing you could do better in your life? Who are like your role models? Like if you could essentially set up all parts of like your life, your work, your career and your schooling, your leisure, your social circle and like a family, your health and like well-being, and then another part in there might be like your sense of like spirituality or like religion, and by going through these different parts in your life and thinking like, what would be the best version of that for myself, and then going through a very clear step-by-step process of like how you can prioritize these, and then creating an action plan for how this can be like done as well. You're setting yourself up for a very, very clear vision for 2025 and how you can get there as well. And I've done this self-authoring suite once every 12 months or once every 6 months for the past 7 years now. And it is nothing short of remarkable how when I log back into this program and I reread what I wrote in it 6 months or 12 months prior, how everything I've written into it has come true. It is literally, I've been able to achieve everything that's in there. Now, there are goals that are set at, you might set goals at 6 months or 12 months, 5 years or 10 years down the track. And it does ask you to consider life at those moments. And it might not be that I've been able to achieve my 10-year goal in 6 months, but there are significant portions of this self-authoring that does come true, particularly the ones that I say, I want to do this in 6 months' time. So it is nothing short of miraculous how every single time I write in this journal, it comes true. And it's a practice I've been doing for, as I said, 6 or 7 years now. And without fail, it always comes true. Next thing I want to talk about is having your misogi. So this is one life-defining event or goal for your year. So this might be to run a marathon, it might be to do an Ironman, it might be to start a podcast, it might be to start a business. But this thing should be so significant that it has a 50% chance of succeeding. And the point of the misogi isn't for you necessarily to achieve it, but it's to have something you're so dedicated to that it impacts every single day of your life leading into it. And it's the growth and the journey of that in which the misogi provides value. So if you're training for an Ironman, as I have, it's that it forces you to go to bed at the right time. It forces you to eat healthy. It forces you to do your training sessions and to plan out your week, because to be able to commit to something as big as an Ironman, you need to be conscious that you can't be eating like garbage. You can't be sleeping like shit. Like, you have to be planning your life in a way, or considerate of your life in a way, that you're setting yourself up for success on something that already has such a poor chance of success anyway. So that's where I think, yeah, setting a misogi can be really powerful as well. The other ways that I like to set up my year, and that misogi is something I like to define like right at the start, is a series of I'm not sure I have a name for it, but they're activities that I do every 2 months, and the point is that you set aside a day or like a weekend every 2 months, and it's to do something you wouldn't have normally done. So it might be to go like surfing and do a surfing class. It might be to do a life drawing class. It might be to go visit a honey farm and like learn about bees and how honey's made. But the that you're doing something that's interesting, or something you might not have done before. It might be something you want to do with your family as well, like going fishing with your kids, or going camping or hiking, just something you haven't done before. And the point being that when it's something you haven't done before, it's something that will be interesting. You're going to learn, and it's going to be a story that you're able to tell, and there's something that you're going to be able to look back on in your year. So when you do get to the end of 2025, you can look, oh, here are these like 6 really cool things that I wouldn't have done previously. And they're great for building your character. They're for building your authenticity, and you get to be that interesting guy at the party that when someone asks like, "Hey, what did you get up into the weekend?" or "What have you been up to lately?" You've got this like recent activity you've done, which like is genuinely interesting, and it's genuinely like fun to share. And so yeah, as we're talking about like planning your year out, the other thing I like to do is to plan out my week and to plan out my day. And now I understand this probably isn't for everyone, but I spend every Sunday night for about an hour or so planning out my entire week. And I plan it out by taking each day and at a high level scheduling, and like what are the most significant things of that day for me. So it might be that I have a gym session that day, or I have a swim that day, or on the Saturday I know I'm like going surfing like all morning. I'll also schedule the things in like, oh, I've got a podcast to do this day, or I'm catching up for dinner with this person on this day. Or I've got to like, do a notable like errand on that day, or I might even like scheduling like, this is when I'm going to do my house work on this day. And the point being that I'm not leaving things up to chance. I'm scheduling in the week I want to have, and I'm making sure that when, say, Saturday and Sunday comes around, when I have those like days off, I'm able to maximize how I want to spend those days. So on a Friday night, while everyone's probably like out going to dinner or they're going out clubbing, like Fridays are my night actually when I do a lot of my housework. It's when I have done all of like my ironing. It's when I get to close out any things like in my work week that needed to be like finished. And I make sure I have an early night as well when I go to sleep, because I want to be like up the crack of dawn, 5:30 on that Saturday, so that I'm in the water by like 6:30. Or if I'm not surfing, I'm able to like get in a lot of fun work that I want to do, which might be related to like making content, and I get to do all of that in the morning. I get to work from say 5:30 to 8:30 to 9, and it's like I've done all of this work and my weekend's only like just starting. Or if I've gone out surfing and I'm back in Melbourne by like 11 o'clock, it's like I've already done this like really amazing thing in my week. It's completely like refreshed me, and it's like I've still almost got this whole weekend ahead of me, and I'm not looking at, oh, I've got to do all this ironing, or I've got to do all this like housework. I actually have a weekend full of adventure, full of excitement as well. I'm someone where if I haven't completed some chores I need to do or task I need to do early in the week, I'm going to be thinking about that while I'm, say, at hanging out with like my friends, or I'm like going out like cycling. It's going to ruin that experience for me. So I like to piece together my entire week, and like generally like this is like what it looks like, where I have like Monday to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, and I just schedule in like the significant events of each day in there. And then I think it also helps me just to offload my mind, the things going on in my week. And so I'm not stressing about like, what do I need to plan for? Like, what are the different things I need to remember? The other thing I like to do is every night I spend about like 15 minutes, sometimes a little bit more if I need to, if I have a particularly like complex day. And that's me taking a bit of a catalog of my day, but planning out the next day. And what I found was most suitable for me was planning out every, say, half-hour block of my day. And it's quite granular. I mark in when I'm going to wake up. I mark in when I'm going to do, say, like my morning like stretches and like exercises. I mark in that I'm going to do my like journaling. Then I mark in that I'm going to like read for, say, an hour. Then I mark in like I'm going to schedule like Instagram like posts. And then I'm going to like write content for 1 hour. Then I'm going to like ride to work. Then I'm going to, and I don't like to write out my work in this initial like session. Usually I do that once I actually get to work, but I write it, okay, I've got my, say, 3 hours at work, and then I've got a 1 hour break, and then on that 1 hour break, I'm going to be like either going for a walk, or I'm going to be seeing someone, or I'm going to be like working on some like personal things. And I schedule it right through to, when I finish work, my ride home, and then I'm going to like 15 minutes that might take me to get to like the gym. And then I have my like 1 hour and a half with like the gym and the sauna. Then I come back, and this is when I have dinner, and this is when I have my shower. And then this is when I do my schedule again. And it is probably like it is an intense way for probably some people to live, but it's honestly how I feel like I get so much done, and I feel so satisfied at the end of the day when I can see I've ticked off all of these things. And it might sound crazy, but I will schedule in as well times when, I have like free time, or when I want to sort of open up my week to more spontaneity, where if I know like in my Monday to Friday, I have like scheduled like everything, I've completed a heap of work. When it comes to like late on a Friday evening, and I might have done already like my like chores or whatever it is early in the week, like I can schedule in, from 6:30 to like 8:30 like PM, I'm gonna go down to the beach here. I'm gonna just like read a book, or I might talk to people or hang out with people, whatever. Same as on like a Sunday afternoon, I might schedule in like 3 or 4 hours where I don't actually have something in that 3 to 4 hours set, where I am going to be, say, like reading a book or hanging out with a friend or going for like a bike ride. I will just leave it open, because there might be something that's just like popped up, or I'm interested in doing, or I want to just use that chance to like let the world inspire me like a little bit. But for me personally, like having it structured like that actually like frees me up to enjoy those moments. Through the discipline of it, I actually find a lot of freedom. And I always like to plan for a week that I'm fucking amped for. I like to plan for a day that I'm fucking amped for. Like, I genuinely get excited waking up in the morning knowing the day I have planned ahead for me. But I think it also makes me resilient for when I do wake up in the morning and I am feeling tired, that I can trust in my past self, knowing that I've planned for the best day for me. And that's what I can trust in, rather than second guessing myself, like, oh, how do I feel right now? Is this the best thing to do? Like, no. The best thing I should do is just trust in myself, trust in the past self that set this up. The last thing I want to bring up here is the law of attraction or manifestation. So it has become a daily practice for me, but the law of attraction or manifesting things, that I think becomes present in the self-authoring suite. By me conceiving this future life I want to have, writing out this plan for how it can be achieved, that makes me believe it. What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. And it was just a 6-monthly, 12-monthly practice. And as I said, whatever I wrote in this came true. I achieved the things I set for myself. Now I've started to incorporate a daily practice. Every single morning, I spend 15 minutes writing 3 affirmations, 3 things I'm grateful for, and then I just sort of do some journaling. But the point of law of attraction, of manifestation, these are extremely positive statements I'm affirming about myself. And since I've been doing this, since I've been shifting my perspective, not to this is what I want, but this is to what I already have. I already have a life of abundance. I already have a life of success. I already have amazing relationships in my life. I have opportunities that come to me. It has been nothing short of miraculous of the shift it's made in my life, where I literally feel success is coming towards me, that beauty is coming towards me, relationships are coming towards me, and I am just so much more positive on a day-to-day basis, and I'm having so many more amazing interactions with people around me. It's nothing short of miraculous. I almost can't think of like a life without doing this now, because it really has just filled my life with so much abundance internally, but also externally. Things are just coming towards me. So going into 2025, I think if you're able to have this really strong understanding of yourself, this really strong vision for your future, this vision that is so palpable that it feels as though you already have it, the universe will bring this to you. And you'll start to just create it for yourself as well. You'll be doing it at a subconscious level, and having a structured week, a structured day, a plan for 2025 makes you accountable. This is maximal self-responsibility. With the misogi, you could fail at this, absolutely, but that's the point. Even if you fail with this misogi, even if you don't achieve completely what you have in your vision, the amount you will achieve within just 1 year, you will be unrecognizable. Within 6 months, you will be unrecognizable with this level of commitment to yourself. Within 2 years, your life could be so drastically different that the people around you won't recognize you anymore. You won't even be able to comprehend how you've been able to get to the point you have. This is how I've been able to view the past 6 years, potentially even longer, of my life, and to view where I've had this level of obsession, this level of dedication to myself, this vision I've had for myself, this understanding of myself and aligning who I am to my vision, where if I break up the past 8 years into these 2-year blocks, the person I was at the start of that 2 years and the person I was at the end is so drastically different that when I even look back on that person 2 years ago, it doesn't make sense to me how much I've changed for the better. It is nothing short of miraculous. So just to reiterate again, the first step is to do a personality test. Big 5 trait is the best. The one I've used is through understandmyself.com. The second thing you want to do is author your future, author your year. So you can do this through the self-authoring program that Jordan Peterson has. Otherwise, the steps you're kind of just going to take here is break up your life into 5 segments of your career and your work, your health and your fitness, your leisure time, your social circle and family, and then I consider your sort of spirituality, religious experience. You may want to change that to some type of community, whatever it is, and think about how could you maximize each of those 5 things in your life. What would be the best version of it? Then what would be sort of the steps needed to take there, and then prioritize that. It might be that next year your career is the most important, or your family is the most important, or your spirituality is the most important, but prioritize that. And then from there, you want to write with a complete streamline of consciousness what your life would look like in 10 years if everything went extremely well. But then you also want to write out your vision of if everything went as bad as it could be, and if you were sort of your worst best friend in terms of managing your life, how would it look then? This will maximally motivate you. The third thing you want to do after you've done this sort of self-authoring, I believe, is defining your misogi. And so this is your life-defining challenge of the year. Then take a calendar, look at your year, and schedule in when this misogi is going to occur, when you have to get to a certain point, when you get to define, have I failed or not on it? And then look at your year and schedule in, when am I going to do these life resume activities every 8 weeks in there as well. Finally, I would say, consider create a mock schedule for what would be the best week for you. So in my scenario, it's to wake up at 5:30 a.m. and I work right through to 8 o'clock. Then I ride into or 8:30. Then I ride into work, and then when I get home, I go to the gym, or I do some form of exercise, and I sauna, and then I read for several hours before I go to bed. And I structure that from my Monday to Friday, and then on my Saturday, I need to do one form of long exercise, whether that's going surfing for half the day or riding for half the day, and then I will do some social activity in that evening, and then on the Sunday morning, that's when I like to work on my more creative endeavors, and then Sundays, I might open for more chill socialization, or just doing a bunch of reading. And start to apply that schedule to your week as you go into it, and use daily planning to support in that progress. And then the other thing I would then recommend is start practicing law of attraction. So, you don't have to read The Secret for it, even though I recommend that as a book to understand what the law of attraction is. But there's several other manifestation books available, or just go on YouTube. There's so much on there about this. But this shit is real. Manifestation is real. You can literally radiate what you want, and then it attract back to you as well. So that's the I'm just going to leave it there. That's the first episode of the Sam Powell podcast. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I hope that wasn't too sort of chaotic, jumping in between things. Yeah, catch you on the next one.